it needs some TLC. Other than that, front shocks seem like they could be a little bit low, so I'll have to check those out. And other than that, back tires on its way out. These here need to be taken off, sanded, painted. So you can see they're kind of falling apart. It looks like some numbers that used to be on it, so it's probably next race bike, not too sure. So you can see someone stressed this a little bit over the past. It needs a hardware kit because a lot of the nuts, bolts holding on everything are, you know, all loose. Missing the front number plate, but I could care less about that. But other than that, clutch lever feels good, brakes feel good. Shut the engine here. You can see it's the exhaust probably needs a donut on it. The guy claims that he redid the top end. He did start it up, took about 6 or so kicks, so it's hard to say what shape that top end's really in. Who knows what the cylinder looked like when he put in the piston. Might just need a carb cleaning too. It's kind of weird how the silencer's so far in the frame like that. Normally you would think it would stick out, but probably just a type of pipe. Makes sense, you flip it, you don't want to damage your pipe. So he said something about new bushings, so I'm guessing he did swing arm bushings. Could have been just lever bushings. I never checked the oil, never checked if it goes in gear, never really cared to do any of that. That spark plug definitely needs to be either tightened up or checked out. Who knows what the threads are like. And actually you can see he had the top end off there. He says he has new studs on it. But you can see that top end has been off. Put in those new studs. I think he might have went a little bit too much in the crankcase on it, but you see that nut was didn't have many threads on there. It's not lining up the exhaust proper. So it's nice and loose. It's probably why this doesn't line up and probably why it's leaking. So those studs with the bolts sticking out like that, hard to say. Could be just that one, could be all of them. Front tire is decent still. Looks like they all hold air. Never checked the rad fluid yet. Rad seems to be in okay shape. I only heard it run for a little bit, so well, he hit some stickers under there, so that should tell you what kind of piston he has in it. Normally I don't like running those pistons, but that's what my work used to sell, so I'm not too worried about it. Some of the first generations, of course, they had problems with them. I still need to jack it up, check everything, fix the shifter, which is pretty bent. So this here, you can see it needs a hardware kit. I got actually a lot of the kits. I'm going to pull off the seat defenders, check the filter, check it over, give it a pressure wash, and then I'm going to decide if I'm going to keep it or sell it. I was tempted to put it for sale right now for $1,200. The value of the tractors were probably a little bit less than that. So, but when you think of it, there was 2 brand new diesel engines on the tractors, which retail for over $1,000 a piece. So, yeah, looks like a few aftermarket parts on this. So there you go. That's just a quick overview video of quickly what kind of shape it's in. Again, I only had it for about half an hour, and this is actually the first time I look over it. So sweet.
Okay, so by looking at the way this stud is designed, I'm going to guess that he installed this into the block and this up, and that's why he's running out of threads. So, because I'm not sure if this would have bottomed out first or what happened with that, or he could have just cranked it down too far into the casing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take my nut, which is only catching by the looks of it 3 threads instead of minimum 4 or 5. So I'm going to actually weld my studs on, and then I'm going to be able to back this entire stud out of the crankcase and then replace it. Or I might just see if I could torque it down to the proper specs and then weld the nut and just leave it there. Leave it until I need to do something on the top end. I'm not too sure, but what I like is that this isn't tapered or anything. There's no like bulge, kind of like the old style ones had. So, but I gotta go because the phone's ringing.
Well, in my opinion, this pipe is absolutely toast. All welded back together on this side here. So, dented the shit on this side. You can see some stress marks all the way down it. And even looks like, no, that might not have been welded at the head there. Head pipe. But chances are if I keep the bike, I'll be switching it out. So, it looks pretty beat. So I'll have to decide. I do got a buddy that does wonders on custom 2-stroke exhaust. In the city here, he builds custom race pipes and stuff that can pull out those dents, fix that up for, you know, next to nothing. But to be honest, I don't know if I'd even bother with that pipe. He'd probably laugh his ass off if I brought that to him. So I'm going to pull off this power valve cover first and kind of give it a check. So, well, I can see one thing. If this thing only has 1 hour of runtime on the new top end, he did not clean anything. So, yeah, that top end there is pretty dirty. So, anyway, what I was hoping to find is exactly this. This one here caught enough threads on this side that I don't have to worry about welding inside here. So, because, you know, I didn't want to get shit up in there and jam it up or anything. So, yeah, that one there, it's on fine. I will double check the torque. This one here, you can see, that's horrible, and that's the same with the two on the other side. This is the one I was worried about, and this was leaking, as you can see down here. Mixture of that, the exhaust was just leaking everywhere, so mixture of the both. So, and right there, how's that piston look? Does it look like it only has 1 hour runtime? Not to me, from what I can see. So, looks like one side's a little bit slower than the other, but it is working. Well, another thing, this explains right here why it probably had a little bit of pressure when I opened the cap still, which sometimes they do. You know, you think if someone did a top end on a bike, they would, you know, cut that, change it. So, well, for now, this is the way it's going to end up sitting. I guess I'll upload this video the way it is. And basically, what I'm going to have to do on it, because of all the oil here, which obviously means quite a bit of pressure in there, due to most likely a bad crank seal on the right-hand side, which is allowing the oil to go into the bottom of the engine, and that explains all the oil coming out of here, which is a very common problem on 2-strokes from time to time. So I'm going to be pulling all this apart, but before I do any of that, I'm going to return my damn compression tester because it is toast. Battery is perfectly fine, and it now turns on. Okay, well, it wasn't turning on about 10 minutes ago. Okay, so I just gave her a compression test. That's after about 10 kicks, throttle open, no exhaust. So, yeah. At least the top end's decent on it. Yeah, so for now, what I'm going to do, now that I know the top end is good, I guess I'll actually probably pull out the complete engine. But that'll most likely be on the next video. And as for these studs here, I'll probably get a top end gasket set and just do a whole gaskets on the complete engine while I'm at it. At least change the studs. Well, I guess that explains why he did the top end and why it took about, I guess, 5 to 7 kicks, whatever it took him to start it. So normally, if you know they don't start up right away, it's going to be something else wrong with it. Could have been the carb plugged, but leaky seal makes perfect sense. And the fact that how much oil again is literally in there, and you can actually see oil in the cylinder. So yeah, that is pretty bad. So I only let it run for a few minutes, or not even a few minutes, maybe 10 seconds when he dropped it off, and I haven't started it since. Didn't really care because I could tell there was some problems with it, just by how hard it was to start. Well, I've decided I'm going to pull the engine out. Just already removed the subframe. One of the bolts need to be changed. It was starting to strip, so I was lucky and I was able to undo the top pivot, the whole subframe to get it out. So old owner, well, that was a good one. This one right here was pretty well stripped out, so have to order one of those. Probably get a whole hardware kit. So yeah, now I'm going to pull off the carburetor. Then this clamp right here wasn't even very tight, so I hope not much dust got in there, but it looks pretty clean. So, and probably very well out of focus there. So, well, I guess I'll get back to you guys when the engine's out. Well, this has to make it onto video. When I bought this bike, the guy said he just did the rear end bushings on it, And check this out, if I can get it on camera. Look at that lower link there. I'm not going to be able to do this. Actually, I probably can if I go like this. Focus, the best it will. Focus, I hope it's focused. Does that look like brand new bushings? So, of course, I'm pulling off the swing arm to pull out the engine, and then I'll be putting the swing arm back on it. Hopefully it does in the camera there, but yep, that's pretty well toast. As for the actual swing arm bushings, I'm pretty sure they're toast too. So I'm just about to pull out the rod the rest of the way. And all the motor mounts are loose besides that, and of course I got to unhook my wiring harness, and that's pretty much it. Alright, now I'm going to drop the entire swing arm off it. And I guess I'll probably get the bushings for it, the shock bushings, and I'll check the swing arm bushings, everything while I'm at it. Actually, I shouldn't say I'm going to get them. I'm just going to add everything to a list until I crack into that engine. I noticed when I was pushing it back and forth on the floor, the clutch was a little bit sticky, but it could be from sitting. So it wasn't sitting very long, so I'll have to make sure to check that clutch when I got it apart. And other than that, don't know what I'm going to do on this project, how much money I'm going to spend on it. So I might try to do it cheap as possible. Just not too sure yet. And just having a cheech break. Little mini prime time. And won't even focus, but yeah, you get the point. Well, the engine's out. Got the bike in pieces here. Engine's on the bench. It's a pretty simple job. Took less than an hour to pull it out, but of course I already had off the fenders and stuff, which took another half hour, if that. So got her out, let her sit on the bench, and tomorrow I'll make a... Maybe I'll play with it tomorrow. I'm not too sure actually. So, but I think for now the video is going to go up the way it is. And yeah, I got a few two-strokes sitting on the bench right now to be worked on, but yep. I'm going to leave the bike like this. Going to throw some of the parts out into storage. Before I kick out the frame, I'm going to check the front bushings, or the front bearings on steering stem. See if they're bad, which most likely they will be. I know for sure needs linkage bearings for the swing arm. And yeah, this is it for now. I'll probably have a video up on this probably in about a month or two from now. Because to be honest, I'm in no rush. It'll probably end up being a late fall, winter project. Sweet. And that's where the parts will sit now until I get the engine back together and order some parts. And of course I cleaned up the backyard a little bit here, as you can kind of see. A little bit better, but not by much. And thought I'd do a size comparison. Banshee, Cr125, and LT500R Quadzilla.